The World Economic Forum have called for anonymity on the internet to be abolished, with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez point-blank demanding that social media companies be forced to track the identities of every single user, specifically linking the identities back to a European Union digital ID. This isn't just about the ability to work, as is the case with Keir Starmer's Britcard digital ID, without which you won't be able to have a job in the UK. This one is about the ability to go on the internet. This is not a drill. The fight against digital ID is the great fight of our time. And this now is the head of a country that has a population nearly twice the size of Australia, standing in front of the World Economic Forum, the world's largest annual tyrant convention, calling for tyranny. Now, I'm going to break down his arguments in this video because we need to be ready to counter these arguments and these claims so that we can respond when supporters of these policies and ideas make their case either online or in person. But before we get to that, my name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and this is what I do. I help busy Australians to keep up with the world as it changes around us. I am 100% viewer supported, so if you appreciate me doing what I do here at the Topher Project, then please help me to keep going by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net. And if you like my videos, then you will love my no-nonsense books, including Good People Break Bad Laws, which is all about government, power, human rights, including the right to privacy, and civil disobedience. And let's not beat around the bush. Governments want to know who said what on the internet specifically for the purpose of stamping out civil disobedience, like what the Blade Runners are doing in the UK, like what I and others did in Victoria, Australia during the COVID lockdowns, which in both cases, our ability to engage in effective civil disobedience required enormous amounts of online coordination where anonymity was essential to our survival. You can read all about all of that in my first best-selling book, Good People Break Bad Laws. Then there's my second also best-selling book, Good Christians Break Bad Laws, which is about the theology of civil disobedience and why I believe, contrary to many people, that the Bible teaches us that as Christians, we must be quick to stand up against government overreach whenever government exceeds its God-given authority. You'll also find my multi-award-winning DVD documentary, Battleground Melbourne, where I tell the story of what thousands of amazing Victorians did to stand up against the draconian and human rights abusing COVID lockdowns. You'll also find my t-shirts and my hoodies at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com, and anything that you buy will help me to keep the Topher Project going. Let's have a listen to exactly what the Spanish Prime Minister had to say to an eager World Economic Forum audience. And I'm going to pause along the way to offer my rebuttals. And just quickly, I want to give a shout out to the X account Jim Ferguson for helping to spread this video far and wide online. Find him on X and give him a follow. He posts really good stuff. Now, I'm going to let this video play for as long as I possibly can before stopping it, and I'm only going to stop it when he tells a lie.
In our countries, no one can walk the streets with a mask on their face.
And that did not take long. Do you remember we were forced to wear masks on our faces in public for a couple of years there? And by the way, there's quite a lot of this in Spain also, not to mention the rest of Europe, and efforts to ban the burqa have been resisted by the very European Parliament that Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is appealing to implement this European digital ID and social media anonymity ban. Back to the video. Hopefully we'll get through more than 4 seconds before we have to stop for another lie.
Or drive a car without a license plate. No one can send packages without showing an ID or buy a hunting weapon without giving their name.
Okay, so at least those weren't lies, but notice how he's using the violation of our rights in some ways to then justify more violating of our rights in new ways. I'm going to be the bad guy here and say that vehicle registration and gun restrictions are abuses of government power. Now, yes, I understand that if they're done properly, they can lead to better public outcomes, such as holding people accountable when they drive dangerously. But that's a utilitarian argument for a violation of human rights, the right to travel. And the practical should never be allowed to trump the principles, because unfortunately, this slippery slope argument is real. And this matters, Because if we allow some minor human rights violations in the name of better outcomes, such as car registration and gun registration, and restrictions on what we, the free citizens of a democratic country, can and cannot have or do, even if those restrictions are for all the right reasons, then as we see in this video, those concessions, those minor violations of our rights, are then used as leverage, as a crowbar, to justify taking more of our rights away, whether we like it or not. Back to the video.
And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity.
Damn! 10 seconds. That's as far as we can get before there is yet another lie. Now, this time the lie is in the form of a false equivalence. He's saying that people saying things on social media anonymously is equivalent to people driving around without a number plate or getting guns without an ID check. And putting aside whether we should actually have to register our cars or our guns, even if we were to accept the utilitarian arguments for car and gun registration, it doesn't follow that the internet is an equivalent. Cars can run people over, guns can be used to shoot people, packages can be filled with weapons of mass destruction, like bombs or copies of the Communist Manifesto. The internet? Well, it's pretty hard to run somebody over with your IP address, or to shoot them, or to blow them up. Controlling the internet is about one thing and one thing only. It's about controlling ideas. There is no equivalence between these real-world objects like cars and guns and the internet. He uses one to justify the other. And the sad thing is that most people won't notice that he's used a false equivalence. They'll just keep nodding along and listening. And can you believe we are only 30 seconds in?
This paving the way for misinformation, hate speech, and cyber harassment.
Yep, there it is. This is all about controlling so-called misinformation and hate speech, which, as we know, is just another way of the government saying it's about censorship and control of the narrative, control of ideas. Most importantly, control of people who may want to disobey. Now, I'm going to let the video run this time. I promise. We will get through more than 8 seconds this time around. Let's go.
Because it is facilitating the use of bots, and it is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions.
I'm sorry. That was 9 seconds. That was 9 seconds. So we did beat our target of 8 seconds. But again, no, he's lying. He's conflating different things. He says anonymity online is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions. But the truth is, anonymity on the internet is allowing people to speak without being punished for their ideas. Let's try again.
Such an anomaly cannot continue. In a democracy, citizens have the right to privacy, not to anonymity or impunity.
Says who? Sorry, but who made that a rule? The Prime Minister of Spain has forgotten that in a democracy the government serves the people and does what it is told by them, not the other way around. We are 1 minute into this video, there's 40 seconds left to go, and already we can see just how jam-packed this speech is with lies, false equivalences, invalid assumptions and more, and we haven't even got to the worst of it yet.
Because with those two, social coexistence would be impossible.
I'm sorry, what? If people can be anonymous online, social cohesion falls apart? What kind of fantasy land is this guy in?
That is why I believe we must push forward the principle of pseudonymity as the functioning element of social media.
By pseudonymity, he means you can use a fake name online, a pseudonym, so that other users don't know who you are, but the government has your real identity. Now, this is a solution only if you're delusional enough to believe that the government is never the problem.
And force all these platforms to link every user account to an European digital identity wallet.
And there it is. All roads lead to more government control and tyranny.
This way, citizens could use nicknames if they want, but in the case of a crime, public authorities will be able to connect those nicknames to real people and hold them responsible.
Yeah, because the government are never the criminals, are they? And no government has ever had a history of branding criticism of it as dangerous or as misinformation or as criminal. Honestly, the only thing missing from this speech is, won't somebody please think of the children? I've said it before and I'll say it again. The fight against universal digital ID is the fight for freedom in our generation. Where past generations fought for their freedom against foreign governments, we have to fight for our freedom against our own governments. And that is exactly the reason why governments around the world want to control what we say. And they want to be able to identify and punish us if we say the wrong thing, whatever that means this week. And yes, this speech in front of the World Economic Forum was all about Europe. And no, it's not happening here yet. But the Australian government has tried and failed to bring in universal ID in the past, and they will keep trying. So it's up to us to make sure that they do not and cannot succeed. And I hope that my responses to this video have helped to clarify your thinking, to equip you with responses to others who might support this kind of nonsense, online or offline. My name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to cut through the crap, to make sense of the nonsense, and in cases like this video, to have an answer to others for when it's needed. I'm 100% viewer supported, so please help me to keep the Topher Project going by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net. And if you like my videos and my no-nonsense style, then you will love my books, DVDs, and merch, all of which is available at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. The algorithm loves you, and so do I. Please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, think free.